Well, it's been a hugely testing time for the region that I call home, and a lot of hundreds of thousands of others do as well. We're so proud of our beautiful Hawke's Bay up towards Wairoa, Gisborne, and even further north. But it's at the moment under siege, really. It was a week ago that Cyclone Gabrielle hit New Zealand and us in particular. And since that point, it's just been a case of trying to recover and trying to discover things about our province, which is no longer looking like it used to. And this morning we're joined by Mr. Ian Macdonald, and Ian is he's part of the Hawke's Bay Civil Defence Emergency Group, which is doing some amazing stuff. So first of all, Ian, welcome to the show, and on behalf of those people around that are relying on you so heavily, thanks for the great work you're doing. Your people must be stretched to the limits.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. Look, yeah, most definitely. And look, we're always trying to do better, obviously. A difficult situation, limited, the time frames and finding out things as we go sort of thing. So look, acknowledging there has been some great work and there will continue to be great work, but acknowledging that we want to keep on improving and doing better.
Ian, I mean, there's still so many people unaccounted for that have not been contacted for over a week now. There must be immeasurable amounts of concern for those people.
Oh, most definitely, and that is one of our response priorities. At the moment, we're just finishing off the planning to get some multi-agency teams into some of the more remote areas of Hawke's Bay between sort of Te Pahui, Tūtera and into Putarino. And look, we're now getting to the point where we need to get a lot more granular and go up individual roads looking for individual houses and try and find people who haven't been able to connect to their communities, because we've been dealing with the communities at this stage in terms of getting relief into those communities. But at the same time, we've still got people who now have reconnected, particularly in our urban areas around Napier and Hastings and Wairoa, where we need to just keep on pushing in that rapid relief, the basic food and water and medical into those areas. But we're doing this at a what I call a macro scale. We're just pushing stuff through. NZDF have been absolutely awesome, and we're getting our regional distribution hub at the showgrounds with food and water, etc. And we've got a huge iwi response as well. So we have got our Te Hei Māori Order working out of there as well, alongside and making sure that we get supplies where we need to in terms of the iwi response as well.
In terms of your ability to access these places, I mean, I've seen photos, I've seen television clips, I've seen stuff on Facebook and other social media of the carnage in terms of the roads. Just how hard has it been to access these places?
Oh, incredibly challenging. So, look, I flew up to Wairoa yesterday for a couple of hours to visit them. What I saw on the way, and that's the first chance I've had to get into the air, was just, and I'm from Hawke's Bay like yourself, it was absolutely devastating. And this is months, years even of recovery. State Highway 5 through to Taupo is literally a dirt track at the moment through most of that, particularly from Te Hirito south. State Highway 2 is just missing bridges all over the place up to Wairoa, and that fix is going to be 12 months or more till we can open up that. And then there's a whole myriad of local roads, which are not state highways. We're talking about hundreds of roads where there's dropouts, but more importantly, bridges. Significant bridges that are just not there anymore. I flew over the Te Pahui area and down into Puketapu. Just missing a bridge, which has been there for years, well above the river. I would have never thought that bridge would have been impacted by the river. There's no evidence that a bridge even existed there anymore. So that's the sort of things that we're trying to deal with, as is our critical infrastructure people, trying to sort out the priorities, sort out the order, get the resources in here, Bailey bridges, etc. It will take time though, and I just want to emphasise that to people. We need to be patient, but people are moving heaven and earth to try and get stuff done.
One of the things, which we take for granted these days, Ian, is the ability to communicate with people, even as remote as we tend to be from time to time. But that has been one of the major issues: cell phone coverage, power, those sorts of things. Where are we at with those?
So look, the cell phone coverage is slowly returning. Those communities, more remote communities, we've had a whole lot of Starlinks go in across the region. And look, more will continue to go in as we become aware of those cut-off communities. Power-wise, I suppose there is some good news around that. Overnight, they were able to double the supply into Napier. Currently, 73% of Napier has power, and they're pretty hopeful that over the next day or so that it should be able to get to everybody. Look, there's always provisos on that. We're dealing with an emergency situation. But I think ever so slowly things are being sorted out. But the loss of communications in that response, it's such a wide scale loss of communications. We plan to lose communications, but we don't plan to lose communications across the entire Napier, all the way up to Wairoa and inland and down south to central Hawke's Bay. That is something which is totally unprecedented. And but look, the telecommunications companies have all been working 24/7 to get those services up and running, and we're making progress.
Of course, Hawke's Bay is very coastal, and obviously it relies on the ocean for some of its bounty, of course. But I read this morning where there's a rahuri put on Hawke's Bay waters, all our coastline, etc., which is effectively a ban on fishing and seafood gathering. For health reasons, as much as anything else, the site I've seen on social media of a flotilla of small boats floating up and down the coast, basically looking for, dare I say it, human bodies or whatever. It's quite concerning in that respect, because of course all the tributaries that flow into the bay itself.
Yeah, most definitely. And look, the Napier wastewater plant is no longer operating. It got flooded out, so raw sewage is having to be pumped into Hawke's Bay, unfortunately. And definitely in terms of human remains, and also a number of urapa and cemeteries were actually impacted by this as well, and if now flowing into our streams and rivers. I think that was the most appropriate thing to do given the circumstances. Police deal with missing persons who have no visibility over the exact numbers or anything like that, but there are still people who are missing, and which I know police have grave fears for.
Right, Ian, just finally, how can we help? How can people outside the Hawke's Bay area help? I mean, I know, people have given clothes, they've given bedding, they've given toiletries, they've given the basics. But what in essence, what is the best way to help?
I think at the moment the best way to help, we have the resources that we need. I suppose it's the coordination of those resources which are the issues at the moment, which we're working through. But really, there's been a few funds established by, there's the Hawke's Bay Disaster Relief Trust, which has been set up by the council's charitable trust. People can make donations. Red Cross is the other one. Please, any donations at the moment, please, money, because this is going to be huge moving forward. There's going to be a huge recovery requirement. We've got whole marae that have basically been wiped out, for example, and they will have to spend thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I think at this stage it is about getting, please, monetary donations is probably the best way that people can help if they're able to. Thanks.